Welcome to That's Anita Live, the talk show dedicated to providing emotional healing through sharing to help you create a happier life. My guest today, Chanel Horne, is currently in the process of being certified for a Healing Touch certified practitioner and instructor, as well as a birth doula. We'll get into what all that is later on. She's a blogger, a mental health advocate. She's also the author of a self-published book of poetry. However, today, we are here to break down the story she so bravely shared, in a book titled Shattered Mirrors. Welcome, Chanel Horne, to the show.
Thank you.
Girl, honey, I couldn't put this hot little book out. My teensy little hands. I said, ooh,
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
What? Okay. We have 4 parts. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So everybody knows how we're breaking the interview down. We have 4 parts. Pink cotton candy clouds, dangerous winds, Hurricane Chanel, and the aftermath.
Yes.
And the aftermath.
That is what I'm in now. I feel like it's not over yet. You know, it's like a work in progress.
Because life is not over yet.
Exactly.
And it is a process of highs and lows, not determined by us, the when or the where, the hour or the day.
Exactly. And just because you think you know how it's going to go, doesn't mean that's how it's going to go.
So, we were the party girl. Our house was the house on the block that always had home cooked food rolling.
Yes.
Good music and good friends coming and going.
All the time. Yep.
Girl, we're going to Chanel house this weekend. Come on.
Yep. And I would make people spend the night if they had too much to drink and feed them in the morning.
Okay, so hold on. You fed them a home cooked meal at night. And then if they irresponsibly drank too much and had to stay, you cooked breakfast in the morning.
I did.
Straight party, having fun.
I love cooking.
So tell me the first section. Let's talk about the pink cotton candy.
Cotton candy. Well, that term actually came from one of my best friends, Mahogany. She said that whenever she saw me with my ex-wife, that's what she saw.
She let you use her real name?
Well, everybody's real name is in there.
Thank you for telling me that.
I did not name my wife. Okay. I just called her or my wife. But yeah.
No, I got a name here.
Did I put it in there? Nope, that's not her.
Okay.
That's not her.
All right. Let me know before we start breaking down these names, darling. Wasn't nobody tapping me on the shoulder on the street. Nita, you were talking about me on that tiny little show.
Yeah, that was one of my other best friends.
Okay.
She was actually the one who introduced us. It was her birthday party where we met. So Mahogany, every time she was around us, because she is also a healer, she does energy work as well. So whenever she was around us, she's like, I just love being around you guys. I feel like I'm on a pink cotton candy cloud. And so that's basically how our entire relationship was.
Did she feel that type of energy coming from you before you met your now ex-wife?
Well, you know, it's funny. I'm one of those people that hears all the time, oh, I love being around you. You have such good energy. So I had heard things like that before. I had never heard that in conjunction with someone I was in a relationship with. That was the first time that had happened. Yeah. Before, I'm just going to say, they didn't always like the people that I dated. But everybody loved my ex-wife, so.
So what I'm picturing, what we have here is pink cotton candy clouds. You're happy.
Yes.
Your energy is clean, glowing, and good,
sharing,
glowing, overflowing. Everybody loves to be around
us. Yes.
Where did you meet your ex-wife?
I met her at a club.
Don't get shy on the sister.
But it was like, so down in Hampton Roads, there's this place called Rainbow Cactus, which is so much fun. I love that place. And they have drag shows a couple times a week, and that's what we were there for. My best friend wanted to go and see the show, and that's where, and she told her friends to come and meet us there. So it was like a group of us there.
Okay.
And that's how we met. I just remembered she smelled really good the first time I met her.
Did you ever figure out what that smell was?
Well, she liked to lay on the cologne pretty heavy. I did come to know that later on, yes.
You don't know which one it was, though.
I don't remember.
Good.
I don't remember. That's probably a good thing that I don't remember, right?
It's a really good thing. It's a really good.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we go to the club with our friends. We hanging out.
It was a good time. We had a lot of fun. We had some drinks. We were watching the show. We enjoyed ourselves big time.
And
then a couple months later, we saw each other again.
Okay.
Had a party at my house, of course, because that's what I did. And she was one of those people who spent the night.
Okay.
Next day, she was still there. She was the only one there. And I was like, hey, this is the first time we had ever actually been alone.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, how you doing? You're still here. Because I just assumed everyone else was gone. And we ended up spending the whole day together. We went to breakfast. We went to the mall just like to, goof off, walk around. We went to the movies. Like we just hung out all day long.
Did you ever feel at any point, looking back on that decision that she made, that there was some intention there?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I never thought about that.
Because you said you mentioned in this lovely book of yours that you knew or you felt like you were coming off as the one who was being intentional is the word that I'll use. But to me, reading through it, it wasn't you that was plotting. It wasn't you that was sounding like...
You're not the first person to say that to me, but at the time, it seemed like we just kind of fell into each other because...
At the kickback.
At the kickback, exactly. We hung out, we were at the kickback, we were playing beer pong, we were playing games.
A kickback, because if it wasn't explained in the book, I would not know what it was.
That's why I explained it, because I wanted to make sure. A kickback is like a casual party, but you don't want to call it a party because it's really just people coming to hang out. You maybe make some drinks, play some games. It's not like an official. It's just kind of like, come hang out at my house. And if it turns into, drinking and music, then that's fun. It's not like a planned thing.
So we've met.
Yes.
We have spent the whole day together. We are now an item.
That couple. Happened quickly.
Yes. We're now a couple. Okay. And you are under the impression that you were going to the Hibachi Grill. Just for a regular
girls' night out.
And what happens?
That's what I was told. I was told that, Mahogany, again, she lives up here. So she lives in Maryland. So she came down to Virginia. And she's like, oh, I just miss you. I just want to see my favorite couple. I just want to hang out with you guys for the weekend. I'm like, okay, great. So she comes down, and my sister wants to go out, and my other best friend, Cookie, wants to go out. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And I'm thinking my wife, or at the time, my girlfriend, was going to come with us. And she's like, oh, no, you guys have fun. This is, I'll go hang out with my friends, you hang out with your friends. And that was weird because we pretty much did everything together. I still wasn't
from the
suspicious
day and the
or
moment
anything.
Of the kickback.
I mean, we spent every single day
together.
Every single day together. And then I was like, really? You're not going to go? I want you to go. I was kind of sad. But I was like, okay, fine. So we get there, and the manager was being kind of weird. She was like outside looking for something. And I'm like, what is she doing? Why is she at the door? And when we went in, they wanted to seat us immediately, and our whole party wasn't there. That was another thing that I thought was weird. They never do that. So I'm like, oh, okay. So we're walking around, Cookie's in front of me, Mahogany's behind me. And then Cookie turns around with her cell phone, and I'm like, what are you doing? Are you taking a picture? What are you doing? But she has the light in my face and everything. And then I look to the right of her or to the left of her, and I see my uncle, my aunt, my mom, my stepmom, my brothers and sisters. I'm just like, what is going on?
People from out of town.
People from out of town. People that lived in North Carolina, DC, Maryland, mostly Maryland. The majority of them were from Maryland, and they came down. And even my coworkers were there. We had the whole section. Yep. And she proposed. And I said yes, because, you know, pink cotton candy clouds. Of course I was going to say yes.
And this was quick.
It was. We had been
first
together.
Do you know how pissed I would have been if I drove up from North Carolina for the proposal, then on the day of the marriage, you go to the courthouse.
Yeah.
You go to the courthouse.
I know.
Just all of a sudden,
it was
planning
a
a wedding.
I know.
Everybody
We
thought
were.
it was going to be a wedding, but no.
Couldn't wait for the
You
wedding.
get
Everybody
up one
decided.
morning and decide you're going to the courthouse.
We did. We went to the courthouse. It was a day we both didn't have to go to work. It was like one of those liberal leave days because the city was flooded out. The whole city was flooded out. So we were in bed and I was like, oh, we should just, it was our anniversary. It was our first anniversary. And I said, we should just go to the courthouse. We had been joking about it. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we get up and we get dressed, go to the courthouse. But that wasn't the drama. I don't think I put the drama in there. The drama came when she accidentally changed her status on Facebook and said that she married me. And she thought that I had to approve it before anybody could see it, but that's not how it works. So we had like 250 people in common probably. Everyone found out on Facebook that we got married.
Good.
That was not how it was supposed to happen. Everybody was mad.
Somebody
Oh my
else
God.
was
It was
pissed.
drama. Yeah. That was an accident. That was not supposed to happen that way.
I was reading the book. I had to sit up. I said, courthouse.
Yep.
That big elaborate proposal.
I know.
And then the marriage was at the courthouse.
Yep, we did. Because it became overwhelming. It was like too much. I was getting stressed out. And I was like, you know, we don't need all that. Let's just get married.
We'll be right back to find out how pink cotton candy clouds turned into Hurricane Chanel.
What if I told you that you could stop the negative tape from playing inside your head? What if, with 7 simple steps, you could leave the pain of the past behind and live every day as your true, authentic self? It is possible, and you can do it. The ebook, 7 Simple Steps to Beat Emotional Baggage, How to Become Whole, Healed, Healthy, and Happy, shares how to resolve emotional baggage and feel free to live true to your own personality, spirit, and character. Transform negative thinking into positive thinking and become equipped to boldly face your past and resolve emotional pain. Get your free copy at thatanitalive.com/ebook.
And we are back with Miss Chanel Horne and her lovely story of a breakup. But how triumph and self-awareness comes out of tragedy. So we went through the pink cotton candy cloud period.
It was great.
Living on cloud 9. Everything was lovely.
We were there for a couple years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You know how they say it runs out after 3 months? It did not. That didn't happen to us.
You never had an argument?
Never. We never fought, nothing. Never.
We talked, we discussed, we adjusted.
Yep. We had great communication. It was amazing.
So
I was like, where'd this person come from?
What do you think it was that shifted?
Honestly, I think it was when I came up here to take a job.
So you think that
I think the distance.
You moving away was the dangerous wind?
Yep. Because that's when everything shifted.
Because that's what you call it in your book, the dangerous wind.
Yep, that's when everything shifted and things started changing. We weren't in the clouds anymore. You know that song, the Stevie Wonder song, Rocket Love? Mm-hmm. That is what it felt like. We were up here and then we were slammed down to the ground. That's what it felt like. Yeah. I don't like listening to that song.
But personally, because it wasn't just the relationship that shifted. Personally, you shifted.
I shifted big time, big time. I started isolating myself. Once we were in separate states.
3 hours away.
She was still down there. Yeah. I was still up here.
Just for a reference to the viewer, that's like a 3 hour.
3.5 hour. Yep.
Right.
And we saw each other as much as possible.
Weekends.
Weekends. Yep. Weekends. Holidays. But I was lonely. I hated being in that house. And before I met her, I had been single for a while. Okay. You know, so I'm thinking this is not going to be a hard thing for me. But we had clung together so much that when we couldn't do that anymore, I didn't know what to do. And it wasn't immediately obvious what was happening. I just knew that something was wrong, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
You stopped cooking.
Stopped cooking, which is huge. That's a big deal.
You stopped going out.
Wasn't going out, wasn't cooking. I wasn't painting. I wasn't doing anything that I loved to do.
You stopped allowing people to...
Nobody came to visit.
Yeah, come by or just
I went to work
by.
and came home. Didn't go anywhere. I was like in my little cave, my little turtle shell.
People tried to reach out to you, calling you. You would ignore their phone calls and their text messages.
Yep. Yep. And some of them were hers. Because it was like, when I would get up to go to work, I would put on like the mask. You know, I'm going to work. It's okay. And then I would come home, and then I'm like, oh, it's over for a few hours before I have to do it again. You know?
What do you think sent you personally into that downward spin?
I didn't know at the time, but now I understand that I don't do well with major life changes. The last time that something like this happened was when my father died. Yeah. And that was in 2010. And I didn't, well, because I was grieving, I attributed my depression to grieving. I was thinking it's because I lost the first man that I ever loved. Right. That's a huge deal, you know. And I'm the oldest, and so I felt like I had to like be there for my brothers and sisters. And I remember when my dad died, I was consoling the nurse because it was one of her first patients that died. I hadn't even cried yet. He died in my arms, and I was consoling the nurse, so it didn't hit me right away, you know. And then all that time in between, I was fine. And then after we were still together, but we were just separate. In separate houses in separate states, and she wasn't right there anymore, you know. And it affected both of us.
But you wrote, my thoughts were so big, but so loud in the silence.
Because my house felt like a cave. We had a 2-bedroom townhouse in Baltimore, and it was just me all the time.
And you said you felt like a walking oxymoron.
Yep. Because everyone is like, oh, you're so happy, you're so cheerful, and you know, I hear that thing that people love my energy so much, and people just love, it's like a moth to a flame. People just love being around me. But it was exhausting after a while. I just didn't want to share myself anymore. And so I just stayed home.
How did you get the message that she wanted the big D?
A text message.
She just sent you a text message with those 4 words, I want a divorce.
No, it was more like a 4-page letter situation. You know, a nod to Aaliyah. It was a very long. And I have Android and she had an iPhone, so it came out of order.
Yes.
So I had to like put it together. And then at the end, the last one, I want a divorce. And I was just like, oh my God. How did we get here? How did this happen? What changed? Because even then, I still didn't have a name officially for what I was feeling. Okay. I was just like, has it been that bad and I just not noticed it? I don't know. It was like a slap in the face, a kick in the stomach, all of those things.
But it reads as if it was the push that sent you into the decision.
Absolutely.
On January 28th, 2018.
2018, yep.
Where you made the decision to
end it all.
And how?
Take my life, go to sleep forever. I just wanted the pain and the darkness to go away. I just didn't want to think, feel, hurt, cry. I didn't want any of that anymore. I was like, I'm done. And it was like somebody hit a switch and all of a sudden all the emotion was just gone. It was just like,
how did you attempt
this is
to
what I'm
make
going
that
to do.
happen?
Well, interesting. My mom came to visit me that weekend, and you know how you can feel when someone knows that something's wrong and they don't know what to say. I could feel that coming from my mom, and my mom, she was kind of sitting on the edge of my bed and she didn't want to leave. I could just tell she didn't want to leave. And then she hugged me and she started crying, and I'm like, oh, she's feeling what I'm feeling, you know, because she's my mom. So when she left, like when I was hugging her, I was thinking, this is the last time I'm going to hug my mom. And then that's when that switch happened. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I can't be sad anymore. I can't think about this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And I went to Target. I went to Target and started preparing, I guess, shopping. I went to get a bottle of pills. I went to the liquor store. I had a list. I was checking things off of a list.
You got more than a bottle of pills.
Yeah. Well, that's what I got at Target. The other ones were at my house.
After we got off the phone, I took over 100 sleeping pills and I drank 3 big bottles of wine.
The big ones, the liters. I didn't even know I could drink that much. Yeah. And I was on the phone with my friend Stephanie, and I knew something was wrong. I knew that it was not a good place for me to be in, but I didn't know how to say it. And so I was like, I can't tell her what I'm going to do.
So somebody that may be feeling that, that doesn't quite know how to articulate it, to reach out to someone, thinking about that moment, what would you tell them to say?
That's a good question. Probably the best thing is I don't feel like myself, because I didn't. I didn't feel like Chanel. I didn't feel like that happy, energetic, glowing,
what else would you
big
say?
Personality. I would want them to do what I didn't do and ask for help. And that's the one thing that I found after I went to therapy, is that I had all of the self-coping mechanisms that they give to their patients, except for asking for help. That was the only one I didn't know how to do. I was meditating, I was being creative, and I was sleeping, and I was taking medication. I was doing everything they asked me to do. But and maybe it's because I'm the oldest and I've always been taking care of everybody else. I just didn't know how to say I need help too.
After taking 100 pills and drinking 3 big liter bottles of wine, you begin to write notes to people.
Yes.
Like, that didn't knock you out immediately.
It did not. I was not, I remember feeling like groggy, super sleepy, but I was like, nope, I have to do this. I remember thinking that. And that was one of the things that I bought when I went to Target. I bought cards, like thank you cards, because I wanted to like write to everyone in my family for when they found me. And so I did that. I remember doing that, and I filled up a legal pad with my suicide note. I was writing. I've always been a writer, so I have no idea what I said or if it made sense at that point, but I was writing. I remember.
How did you get to the hospital?
it was a miracle. I honestly do not know why I woke up, but I did. I just woke up. And I like to tell myself that it was my dad telling me to get
Girl,
up.
if you don't get yourself up off that floor.
Exactly. I think that is exactly what happened. Because that is something my father would do. Get up, you know. So I just woke up. And I remember thinking, what the heck did I just do? It was like all of a sudden, what is wrong with you? I didn't feel that before. But when I woke up, and I was on my bed, I just woke up and I was like, oh my God, I need help. And I remember going to the top of the stairs. I have no idea how I got to the bottom of the stairs. I do not remember that.
I do.
I remember being at the top saying, how am I going to get down these stairs? And then all of a sudden I was just downstairs. I don't remember it. And I called 911. I used to be an EMT, so I was like, I gotta get my purse, I gotta get my ID, I gotta get the pills that I took, and I'm gonna tell them what I did. I remember thinking those things. And like when I got into the ambulance, because I closed and locked my door, I walked and got into the ambulance myself. I remember when I was telling the paramedic what I did, she was like, you took all of these? I said, I took every single one. And she's like, this was a brand new bottle? And I said, yeah, it was a brand new bottle. I just bought it this morning. But what I didn't know is that it had been almost 48 hours. So I took those pills on Sunday, and it was Tuesday morning when I woke up.
And then from Tuesday morning, you were in the hospital for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yep. It was an interesting 2 weeks.
How so?
I'd never been I'd never been in therapy. I did go to therapy a little bit after my dad died, but it was just like a couple of sessions, but I had never been an inpatient. And perspective, you know, like just hearing so many other stories, because they make you go to group therapy and they make you interact with other people even when you don't want to. And, you know, they kind of give you like a day or two to kind of mope and, you know, say no, you don't want to participate, but perspective. And I found myself like holding a lot of hands and rubbing a lot of backs, and I was again being that
still caring for other people.
Exactly.
When you were in self-care for yourself.
Exactly. I don't know how to do anything else.
You swallowed the pill, but while you were at the courthouse finalizing your divorce, you fixed her collar.
I did. Still want to take care of her. I don't know what that is. And before for a week or so before I got there, I was sick to my stomach. Oh my God, I was so stressed. I couldn't sleep. I didn't know what was I hadn't seen her in 6 months. And I had my friends and my mom there, and I felt okay when we were there. And then when she came in, I got angry. I got so angry. And then we were signing papers, and, you know, they ask you, do you think that there's a chance of reconciliation? And she hesitated, and I wanted to throw something at her. Because I'm thinking, you're the reason why we're here.
Because let me tell you how I read it. I had the support of my family and friends with me when I walked in. She came alone. Read
She
that right
came
now.
alone.
What did I put in there?
Boom.
Boom!
She came alone.
She came alone.
I was surprised at that.
She looked so different.
So different.
Then, in my mind, you reach over and you fix her collar. Like, so sorry, so sad. Best of life to you.
I felt better.
Here is your paperwork.
After we signed everything,
Be on your way.
I felt better. It was like a relief.
I read this.
And that's when I fixed her collar, after we had signed the paperwork.
Boss move, sis. Stop trying
I
to be
felt
coy.
so much better after that.
Move. Okay?
Well, thank you.
And at this point,
Yeah.
Chanel says, all in an effort to release all of the emotions that still had me bonded to her, which is what a lot of people don't do. They get to a place, they stay stuck. They keep going back through all of the photos and mementos.
The
They don't
writings,
allow
the
themselves to
books,
scream. They don't cry.
Right.
Because I see all of that as losing versus releasing. And you have to.
You have to, because that is how I got to where I was. Because I didn't tell her how I was feeling. I was like, nope, I'm fine. Bottle it up, put a lid on it, throw it in the closet in the corner, don't talk about it. And that's why I was not in a good place when she said she wanted a divorce. When she did that, it was just like, boop, just push me over the edge. I'm done at that point, you know? And if I had let her into that place, I probably would have received it totally differently. That's just because we talked about everything before that. You know what I mean? That was what was different.
So for someone in the LGBT community that is right now where you were, going through a breakup that they feel is a life-changing experience for them, you have never let the darkness get so close that you extinguish your own flame. What does that mean?
I let it swallow me up. And like the best analogy that I have for it is that in our backyard we had weeds growing. And it was like, at first it's a little tiny spot, and I saw it and I just kind of let it go. And then 2 weeks later it was just everywhere. And that is kind of what happened, because I ignored it. I closed the door on it. And I was like, it's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. And then all of a sudden it was completely overwhelming. And I couldn't control it. Once it got to that point, once it was that big, there was nothing that I could do about it. Or at least I felt that way at the time.
Cloud 9 to the dangerous winds, which I picked up as the depression that you went through.
Yep, absolutely.
Hurricane Chanel, and where initially I pictured the Tasmanian devil, but after reading, you were, I guess, writing more so about the mess that your life had turned into, your divorce and your suicide attempt. Then it was the aftermath, which is where we are now, the recovery.
Yeah.
So,
Which is still ongoing, of course.
but because you don't know how many people that I have had sit in that chair and tell me they've had multiple attempts.
Yeah, I know a few. I actually lost a friend in September. I had another friend the year before that make an attempt. I lost another friend 4 years before that.
Wow.
So it is, at this point, I would say an epidemic.
But you have only made one.
Just one, yes.
And you were only going to make one.
Yeah, I don't ever want to do that again.
Because you know how
I
you
don't
went from,
ever, yeah.
you know how you went from, first of all, who woke you up?
Right. I know my daddy woke me up.
Who helped? Girl, you
I
don't
know.
off that floor. All that I done poured into you.
Exactly.
And you gonna let somebody else try and steal your
And
value?
also seeing my mom in the hospital crying. I didn't like that. I did not, because my mom is like me, you know, like happy, like big energy, like always in a good mood. And I didn't like that at all.
Shattered Mirrors, Silent Voices, Real Stories from Real People. You're a part of a compilation.
Yes, chapter 7.
Is amazingly earth moving.
Thank you.
Chanel is the perfect example of bouncing back after a battle. Life can really knock you off your feet, but if you just look up, there is always someone there ready to help you put it all back together. If you're experiencing any difficulty in life, there is help available. Reach out. Whether it's fear, anxiety, low self-esteem, or even suicidal thoughts, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. To reach out to Chanel, find her on Instagram at
The House of Kamala.
The House of Kamala. We are here for you because I know Sometimes we don't want to be fixed, we just want to be heard. Make the commitment to start your journey to the emotional healing today. I'm Anita, your host. Be sure to check out thatanitalive.com for where and when to see our next episode.